Microsoft is rebranding Beam into Microsoft Mixer. The streaming platform also got a bunch of new announced features, some here and some coming down the line, basically outlining what Microsoft wants Mixer to become. Maka here with another topic video. Now there's two major questions that people have been asking. Number one, why are they renaming it? And number two, why is it called a Mixer? And obviously, as a bonus, I'll throw in my thoughts of why this is actually fairly relevant into the streaming and gaming space. Now, first off, if you don't know what Beam is, I don't blame you, but basically it's a streaming platform that Microsoft actually bought out not entirely too long ago, I guess like a year ago or something like that, along those lines. And it's a platform that never really took off all that much. But Microsoft's like, hey, we're going to buy this out so that we have some sort of streaming platform. And they've been struggling to kind of integrate it into everything. And this kind of plays into a large part of that. So why are they actually doing the name change? The name change most likely comes down to the fact that they're changing direction of the company and where they actually want to go with the software. And so basically Beam already had a personality and sort of identity. And so basically trying to be like, oh, we're still Beam, guys, is going to be very, very difficult. So it's mostly just sort of a marketing shift. It kind of gives them a retry, not only with their sort of branding and everything like that, but also with the sort of visuals on the main front of everyone kind of using the platform, because they're going to be integrating it into all of the Xbox type stuff. Now, why is it called Mixer? Now, one of these new features is actually fairly interesting in the fact that a lot of the new features that they're introducing is not something that's necessarily inside of streaming platforms. Now, I'm sure there's one or two kind of smaller platforms that have been introducing these sort of elements, but one of the major elements that they've actually introduced already that you can already use and isn't planned for the future, but rather is already functional, and you can actually end up trying it out on yourself. Basically, you're able to actually have multiplayer streams, and I'm not talking about just two players into a single stream. I'm talking about two separate streams going into the same room, and players can end up looking at both streams at the same time, kind of like a split screen view. However, it's both players streaming it online, which is actually a fairly cool feature. And they're also introducing a lot of other sort of kind of processing sort of features as well, and this kind of goes into the idea of Mixer. Mixer, if you're not into the editing space, is basically a general term used for a lot of things, both in audio and video, to where we're like, oh, I'm going to mix up this audio, or I'm going to mix up this video, as in you kind of like mix things together and, you know, as the name suggests, put it together or kind of blend it, yada, yada. And so what they're doing with Mixer is a lot of things along those lines, and I think that this is one of the reasons why it's actually going to be a very interesting platform, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And so with the direction shift going towards mixing, Mixer kind of makes sense, and most importantly, it also has an X in the name. If you don't know, Microsoft already kind of brands all of its gaming stuff for years on the idea of X, and the reason for that is their DirectX platform, which the original Xbox and everything was actually developed on, which is where the Xbox name originally came from. And so, yeah, basically it's one of those situations to where, yeah, they want an X in the name, I'm sure. Mixer already makes sense because of the ideals that they have, and so why not go with it? It is a single word syllable. They're running out of those, so we may as well end up using that. So there we go. Or single word syllable. I said that incorrectly. It's a two syllable word, and so it's very easy to say and fairly easy to remember. And I actually like Mixer over Beam. Now, Beam itself wasn't actually a terrible name. Mixer is kind of a terrible name just because it can get confusing, because you're like, oh, I'm going to use this audio mixer, and then people are like, Mixer? Streaming platform? What? You know, if it ever ends up being popular, and that could end up running into some sort of, I guess, marketing kind of difficulties, but I don't think, since they're going to be mostly targeting people that already either know streaming or people that are in the kind of console space that aren't going to be into editing, I don't think it'll be that much of an issue. So that's not really that big of a deal. So that's the kind of two main questions answered, but why do I think this is fairly relevant, and why am I doing kind of a video on it? Well, the major thing about this is the fact that Microsoft is actually stepping up its game with the streaming platform. Now, ever since Amazon bought Twitch, it seems like everyone wants to get into the live streaming space, because they can't have one large competitor be like, hey guys, we've got live streaming, and then everyone else is just like, nah man, we don't care. No, they want to be in that space because it is a good money-making space. And while I think that Twitch is doing a lot of things right, they're also doing a lot of things kind of different than where I would necessarily like, and they're not necessarily innovating the space as much as I would prefer. There's a lot of features, such as, you know, they had the whole, we're introducing audio or video, like uploads and everything like that, and I was like, oh hey, they're going to start competing with, like, you know, YouTube and things like that, and then they just completely failed on introducing any of those features. They're introducing a lot of monetization, but at the same time, none of this monetization is really affecting the streamers all that much, and yes, it is adding new revenues, which is great, but at the same time, it's not really adding into the space as a whole. It's only adding into the sort of monetary aspects to it, which once again is a little bit disappointing. However, Microsoft is actually introducing Mixer, which is actually introducing a lot of interesting and new sort of mechanics into the space. And so, for example, the multiplayer streams, the split streams, where it's like, oh, hey, you can watch this guy play it from his point of view and this guy play it from his point of view at the same time. Now, personally, I think that would be difficult because I can't even watch split screen games and watch both screens at the same time. It's pretty rare that I'll be able to do that because, you know, you get kind of zoned in, you're watching one screen. That's kind of how we're raised as gamers. We pay attention to our screen because screen cheating, not so much a thing unless you're playing a game literally around the concept, which is a thing that happens. Screen cheat is a game. But regardless, you know, so basically I probably won't end up using the feature all that often, but it is a cool idea regardless. And it does make it so that when you're streaming, like, oh, hey, look what this guy did. And it's like, you know, you could just end up looking over and end up tying it in. And this also goes into a bunch of chat things as well. You can end up having the chats kind of merge and things. And I think that is a super cool idea. They have a bunch of automatic kind of friends list systems. And so basically, if you have somebody else streaming and stuff like that, I know Twitch has a sort of, I guess, automatically plays different people on your list. I forgot what they call it, but they do have that sort of feature. But this makes it so that they'll be able to automatically jump into your stream as well. And so it's like, oh, this person's streaming. Oh, sweet. Well, we're in the same game now. I'm going to go ahead and toggle this on and everything. And I think that is a super cool idea. And it makes it more not only just for people that are live streaming for like a business aspect, but it also makes it cool as a user as well. They're also introducing low latency streaming as well. And so it's like, oh, hey, you know, now I don't know how well it works. I haven't been able to test it out yet. I'm going to be testing it out later this week. But basically, they're kind of spouting that it'll be only a few second delay, which is kind of crazy because Twitch, it's like 16 seconds or something like that for non-partners. Now, I think partners are slightly faster, but it's definitely not all that much. And so it's one of those situations to where, you know, partners are also getting a bunch of different features. The difference in sort of Mixer is the fact that none of these features that are actually really, really cool. Now, there are a few monetization features that only partners are going to get, but for all these usability features, it's not being marked as partner only. And so you don't have to be a, you know, Mixer partner or whatever the hell Microsoft is going to end up calling them. You can just end up being a general user and getting a hold of all these features and being able to use it. And so it's like, hey, I want to stream with my friend. I want to use split screen while some of my friends are at work or something like that. And it's like, hey, you can do that. It's a thing that is perfectly possible. And I think that is super, super awesome. And it's also a way to push the actual industry forward. Now, do I think it'll actually be very successful? No, not really. I think that Mixer is probably going to end up falling flat on its face for the most part in most of its users. Now, Microsoft is going to push and make it towards more of the Xbox gamer space. They're introducing a lot of things such as, you know, introducing it to the main Xbox One hub and everything like that. So if you want to stay within the Xbox sort of universe, it will be there. And there's also pushes towards making a PC app. They're making a mobile app. They're making it, you know, also friendly to mobile. So you can end up using it on mobile with chat and everything like that, which is also super cool. And it's something that could end up working out well. And if Microsoft ends up pushing out the marketing, yes, it could end up being a relevant player in the space fairly easily. That said, I'm not holding out hope because basically Twitch has a sort of dominance on the market. Now, I really want Mixer to succeed because getting into the Twitch ecosystem is not particularly easy, especially as a newer creator. And so it's one of those things to where I want to be a partner because basically that's sort of what I want to do. I want to turn it into a business. That said, becoming a Twitch partner is not necessarily easy. And Twitch is like, oh yeah, well, just get the viewership and stuff like that. Getting viewership isn't 100% easy either. And some people don't have the time for that sort of thing. And so this introduces a new platform, not only to kind of tie in viewers, because viewers on Twitch, they have a sort of tendency to go for the highest viewership, but in the current state, Mixer doesn't have a lot of high profile streamers on it. And so this introduces a new sort of avenue for your users like me to be able to be like, hey, maybe I can pick up some viewership and maybe we can actually use it as a platform, especially if it's low latency. I think that is something that I will 110% support because that is a cool idea. I love low latency streaming and there's not a platform that introduces it. So if it ends up working, then yeah. But obviously, you know, I like it because it's a new platform and I love seeing new platforms come up, and I like it not only because it is a new platform, but because it's introducing some interesting features and I want to see the industry move forward. And while yes, Twitch is introducing a lot of cool things and they're doing a lot of interesting ideas, I think they are going towards more of the market strategy. And I think that this is going more towards, you know, we want this to be used by people. We don't care if they're partners or not. We just want this to be used. And so they're actually adding in features for people that aren't even going to be trying to make this a business, which is super important in my opinion. I think that is something that I think companies like this should end up considering a lot more than they do right now, because everything is about making those content creators make us money, and it shouldn't always be about that. And yes, it is sort of important, and Microsoft will have to figure out their partner strategy. And I have a feeling they already do have a strategy. I haven't really looked it up. I'm sure they already have a bunch of notes on it. And you can also see a full list. I'll try and kind of link that in the description for all the features that are going to be planned and coming in the near future, which is super, super awesome. I like when companies actually point out like, hey, this is actually where we're going, by the way. So you can end up looking at this sort of stuff. So I'll try and link that in the description. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Michael with another topic video. Game in the background has been Sonic Episode 4. It's, not very good, but I'm running out of videos to put in the background of these, so I'm like, why not? I found out it actually reset my cloud save data, so I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm just replaying through the game because, yeah, I wanted something else to play in the background, and I'll probably never pick it up again after this unless I play it in another video or my sister wants to play it. So, yeah, there we go. Actually, that's probably why it reset my data, because we installed it in my sister's place, and then we reset the save on that just so she could start from the beginning of the game, and then it probably cloud synced. And then deleted my data. Dang it! I'm just now realizing that was my mistake. Whoops. Anyways, yeah, so basically, obviously, leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about Beam, I guess? Now it's called Mixer. It's super hard to find, so there will be a link in the description to that blog post, which will also link to the actual website. I will be testing it out soon, so I'm hoping to later this week. I think on Monday is the current plan, and so I'll be trying to stream on Monday if I get the time. If I don't know when I'll try it, but yeah, I want to try out the low latency streaming. I want to see how their whole platform ends up working out. I tried streaming to YouTube, I've tried streaming to Twitch, I tried streaming to Hitbox, and all of them kind of run into a lot of the similar issues that I have, and YouTube specifically had a bunch of chat problems, which I was not a fan of, and so, yeah, I kind of want to use a platform that doesn't have those, so hopefully, you know, Mixer ends up having a better platform than that. But for the most part, I'm excited to end up trying it out. I always want to find new streaming platforms and stuff like that, and video platforms as well, although the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim just because kind of YouTube has a general space about that. That's why I was so excited about Twitch introducing, you know, video uploading and everything like that, but they ended up not really doing much with it, which was super, super disappointing. But I'm really glad that Microsoft is doing something about this platform, and because nobody else is really doing much with it. Yes, Twitch is, but at the same time, Twitch is already the mother load of everything for it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm generally excited, and I'll obviously be trying it out, and hopefully people end up liking it and actually get somewhere, because I want some competition for Twitch, like honest competition, not YouTube streaming of we're pretending to be streaming sort of thing. It's not very good, but hey, it at least allows you to have dynamic resolutions for non-partners, which is super important in my opinion. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm going to stop playing Sonic 4 and like play a better one, because this game is sad. This game is depressing. It's like such a disappointment. Ugh.